Jesus proclaimed a change in worship practice. It is not going to be centered anymore on any holy place or any holy city. Worship is going to be the spiritual holy worship of anyone who seeks God. A time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. The worship of God is now directed through Jesus Christ. We worship the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, and the God of the covenant, by worshiping through Jesus the Messiah, or even by worshiping Jesus himself. Because God has done what seemed impossible and what was forbidden. God himself did what seemed impossible and what was forbidden. Because the Lord himself made an image of himself. Jesus Christ is the image of God in human form. And miraculously, it is not an incomplete, limiting image like anything that we would make would be. But this image of God is God himself. The New Testament understanding of the Second Commandment is this: let there be no other image than Jesus Christ, and no other worship than through him. Now, what does that look like in practice? Our entire life is our worship. Too quickly we think of worship as the thing that we do on Sunday in church, or maybe our deliberate acts of prayer and singing, maybe before or after a meal. But our bodies and what we do with them from day to day, that is the offering we should bring, says Paul here. Offer your bodies as living sacrifices. That is your spiritual act of worship. Second, it tells us that as Christians we are being transformed. In chapter 8 of Romans, Paul had already mentioned that we were predestined to be conformed to the image of God's Son. Predestined to be conformed to the image of God's Son. Now think of what that means. It means that our God-given goal in life is to become more and more like Jesus Christ, who is the ultimate image of God. We worship the Lord Jesus Christ with the express purpose to become more like him. We worship our great Lord Jesus Christ by listening to him and putting in practice his teachings in our everyday life. We worship him by mutual care and love, and also by joining our hearts and hands and voices in praise and in prayer. Now, how can we do that? Very practically, in such a way that most of us are encouraged and blessed, that our hearts and our lives are touched. How can we worship together so that there is true admiration for Christ and what he has done, and true growth in becoming more like him, and true joy in the salvation that we have? Those are the kinds of questions that I would like us to reflect on whenever we talk about how to worship, so we don't get stranded in little details and preferences here and there, but focus on what truly matters. If we reflect on those things, we may well find out, each of us may find out, that in our hearts we may have graven images, things that we consider essential for worship, but that really aren't. And so may the Lord smash our images, so that our worship is not based on preference or custom. It's not about activities and participation, but that our worship may be about Jesus Christ, the perfect image of God, whose Spirit transforms us to be worshiping image bearers once again.